Hey everybody, I want to give you 13 personal development lessons that I took from Narcissist, okay? And I would like to share these lessons with you for your personal development. Since dealing with the narcissist, I've learned a few things. And if you are a believer, then you know that the Bible says, according to Romans 8:28, that all things work together for the good of them that love the Lord and that are called according to his purpose. So, accepting the good and growing from the conflict within is what we as believers should aspire to do. What we should always do is examine ourselves and look to God and ask God, what can I learn from this situation that will help me to be better? How is this situation actually working for my good? What is the situation here to teach me? How can I be helped or made to be better? These are things that I always want to know, and I always try to look for the good vibes in every situation. And these lessons have become tools that can be useful when dealing with the narcissist or just everyday people, because they're tools in your toolbox. Let's get right into it. Number one, the first lesson is to learn to trust your eye. You should develop an eye. You should develop and become an expert at smelling and detecting. It's called a BS detector. You should become really good at that and smell it miles and miles away. Since the narcissist has become so good at their manipulative behaviors, soon you should be quickly able to identify those behaviors that cause confusion, behaviors that you see that mimic other people, and spot anyone that is disingenuous with you. You will be able to spot this as plain and quickly as the nose on your face. You should be able to discern whether their motives are pure and whether their motives is a direct reflection of them versus a direct reflection of how they feel about you. You will develop that eye soon enough. The second lesson that you should learn if you are dealing with the narcissist or have dealt with them is how to be better and take better care of yourself. Okay? And you will find and figure out quickly what works best for you, because that's what they do. And it shouldn't be offensive to others, and if it is, you learn to deal with that. I would make certain decisions in the past based off of making someone else comfortable or what worked best for them and how to save face for them. I would actually make decisions that save face for others, but I wasn't happy in the end. So after dealing with the narcissist, it don't matter to me anymore if the action is offensive to others. I make a decision that works best for me. This is simply me loving me and me looking out for numero uno, because if you don't look out for yourself, take care of yourself, and love yourself enough to not save face for others but save space for you and what makes you happy, then nobody else will be able to do that. Okay, so you have to be able to do that. It's called self-care, and it's legal, and you should do it and not feel bad about it. Make decisions that are best and important for you, regardless of how somebody else feels about it and whether it's save face for them or not. Number three, after dealing with a narcissist, you will learn how to become an individual. Yes, sometimes we think that we have to, the two of us are together and we have to walk and do everything together. No, that is not the case. So I now know that each person is an individual. We can completely live separate lives and come back together. But guess what? Ultimately, I am responsible for me, and I don't rely or depend on anyone else to do that. I recently had an example where I had some smoke inhalation and I suffered some soot in my nostrils. And normally I would decide to go to the ER, but I would require my partner to go to the ER or take me to the ER or be mad if they didn't go to the ER with me. Well, guess what? In this instance, it didn't matter because I was taking care of myself, and regardless of who's to blame for the soot, regardless of if anyone wanted to go with me or not, regardless of what, guess what? It got in my nose. I took myself to the ER, got treated with some oxygen, got myself some chest x-rays, some blood work, and I thank God that everything came back normal. But who knew? Better to be safe than sorry. And so that I wouldn't later be dealing with some breathing problems. But the funny thing is, I wasn't even disturbed because of who didn't go to the hospital with me. I seen the time that would have been a problem. So in dealing with a narcissist, you learn to be an individual who takes care of yourself without anyone's approval or cosigner. The fourth thing that you learn after dealing with a narcissist is how to be a better listener. You become what we call an active listener in coaching. People with that NPD or narcissistic personality disorder have a warped sense of communication. They don't conversate like normal and regular people. Like, you don't get to ask questions if you're dealing with a narcissist. So I have learned how to spot whether my questions are making someone comfortable and disengage. The fact that you don't get to ask questions is not effective communication, and therefore the conversation can only go so far. And that is the entry point to disengage in the conversation completely. You see, once I have become noticeable that once the temperament changes and the word salad begins, the conversation is actually over at that point. It comes into play where you just disengage to avoid the argument and move on. The fifth lesson that I learned is I've learned how to change the subject. You know how the narcissistic person will bring something up over and over again like a commercial when they want you to buy it? It's just like a commercial. They're selling something. And when they want you to buy it, that's what they do. But when you're doing it to them, they will use manipulation, gaslighting, and change the subject if it's something that they actually don't want to talk about. So guess what? What's good for the goose is good for the gander. If they're bringing something, or anyone is mentioning something that you need to disengage in, change the subject. The sixth thing that I learned from dealing with a narcissist, I learned how to hold my peace and let the Lord fight my battles. That's right. Proverbs 29:11, it says, "A fool utters all his thoughts, but a wise man keeps it until afterwards." You see, sometimes it's just as plain as you just got to shut up. Hold your peace and let the Lord fight your battles. The seventh thing that I learned from dealing with the narcissist is I learned how to pray. Yes, my people. I learned how to pray about everything. Anytime I felt wrong in this relationship, I would run and tell it. Like Martin Lawrence said, run tell that. I would tell it to God. In other words, I would take it to the Lord in prayer. I submitted every wrong that was done to me by them. I would submit it to God and sit back and watch the Lord deal with them and watch him fix it. I became spiritually aware and awake. Stay woke. They be creeping. Don't you close your eyes. The eighth lesson that I learned from dealing with a person with narcissistic personality disorder, or just a narcissist, which is different because one is a trait, I learned how to forgive pretty fast. You know, you have to learn how to forgive quickly and move on. Being petty and holding on to grudges is very immature. I learned that because I used to could hold a grudge for weeks. but it's not worth it to jeopardize your health and holding on. Proverbs 17 says a cheerful heart does good like a medicine, but an angry one dries up the bones. It crushes the spirits and dries up the bones. It literally saps your strength. If you don't want your strength to be sapped, learn how to forgive and move on, because unforgiveness is like drinking poison waiting on the other person to die. It's like holding urine and letting the toxins run all through your bladder and through your bloodstream. Can you imagine if you could not pee? That waste would just go everywhere all in your body. So learn how to forgive and forgive quickly. The 9th lesson that I learned by dealing with a person with narcissistic personality or disorder, or just a narcissistic trait, because they are robbers of peace and they use gaslighting techniques. They like to yell. They like to use diversion techniques and talk over you. They like to use intimidation. Well, guess what? I learned Proverbs 15 really does work. A soft, gentle, or kind answer, it actually does turn away wrath, whereas a harsh word stirs up anger and strife. Number 10, you learn how to become self-sufficient. You see, the narcissists thrive on power. They want you to become sufficient off of them. But if you take away their power, you build your own power. Build your own credit, get yourself a job, go for yours. Don't ask them for anything. Get your own, baby. Get your own. The 11th lesson that I learned from dealing with a narcissist, anyone with a narcissistic trait, I learned how to not let them change who I am. Because they will. They will change your template, your DNA, and all of that. They want you to speak their love language. But what's your love language? And you find your love language and you stay right there. If your first love language is words of affirmation, and you like to compliment others, don't stop because they don't compliment you. Continue to compliment, continue to be affectionate, give gifts, give service, whatever your love language is. Continue to do that. Be consistent in who you are and don't allow them or anyone else to change you. And the 12th lesson that I learned from dealing with a person who is narcissistic is I learned how to trust myself. I learned how to trust the GPS within. I learned how to trust my intuition, because a narcissist will make you think that you are crazy with all of their gaslighting. They will try to make you think that you are crazy, and that you're imagining things, and the things that you really do know is not working. You know, they will use all these different techniques. And I found that every time I trusted my instincts before I talked to them, I was on point. I was right on point. And so when I'm with them, guess what? It didn't change. My discernment is right on point. And matter of fact, it brought me into my prophetic anointing. Okay? Because I began to speak those things that are not as though they were. And it gave me the ability to be able to prophesy and or speak to a situation and cause that thing to come to pass. So I learned how to stay true to myself, trust my intuition and my own GPS within. And last but not least, and overall, you just learn how to be good and love yourself and take better care of yourself. And that is my prayer for you on today. Be good to yourself and continue to have good vibes. And until next time, be immensely blessed. And if you enjoyed this video, go ahead, like, comment, and subscribe. Give it a thumbs up. Talk to me, I talk back. Okay? Talk to you later. Bye.